It's 1965. You're the Queen. Out of nowhere, the Cold War has become a hot war, and the Soviets have lobbed one or more nuclear warheads in the direction of little old Britain. With just hours, or minutes, to go before nuclear oblivion, where do your loyal foot soldiers take you? Well, if you happened to be in Scotland when the news broke, most likely your first port of call, the place where you'd take shelter while your minions worked out how to get you onto a yacht and out to sea, would have been Barnton Bunker in the north of Edinburgh. A secure, secret nuclear bunker tucked away under Corstorphine Hill, from which you could comfortably and safely ride out the nuclear apocalypse. Now, since you aren't actually the Queen, it's safe to say that you might not have been aware that Edinburgh had a nuclear bunker, or that the thing is still there. But it did, and it is. And it's actually an incredibly cool and spooky little time capsule that you can take a tour of most weekends. The history of the site goes back to the 1940s, when an above-ground Royal Air Force base was established inside an old quarry on the side of Corstorphine Hill. It was a low brick building that looked pretty much like this, but newer. The early part of the 1940s was eventful, to say the least. And over the years of the Second World War, Scotland got its fair share of attention from the Luftwaffe. The base at Barnton was a key part of the country's air defence. From there, specially trained staff would monitor the skies and, whenever needed, dispatch British aircraft from fields in Edinburgh, East Lothian and Falkirk. Once the World War ended, spoiler, Germany lost, we plunged right on into the Cold War, a period of intense geopolitical tension between the United States and its pals, and the Soviet Union and its pals. During this time, there wasn't much active fighting, but there was enough angry posturing with newly invented nuclear weapons to make everyone distinctly nervous. To respond to this new existentially terrifying threat, the base at Barnton was expanded, downwards. 3 new subterranean floors were added, surrounded by 3.5-metre thick nuke-proof concrete walls. This new underground extension was designed to withstand anything up to a 3-megaton bomb falling on Edinburgh city centre. For context, the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima was 15 kilotons. This bunker could stand up to a weapon hundreds of times more powerful, although it'd be about the only thing in the vicinity that could. The Scott Monument? Gone. The castle? Gone. Northbridge Burrito and Shake? Gone. But the bunker and everything in it would, at least, survive. This underground stronghold was the SOC, Sector Operations Centre, for all of Scotland throughout the hottest years of the Cold War. Staffed around the clock, it acted as a receiving centre for information from radar facilities around the country. Data would be collated using the finest technology available at the time, including a massive room-sized computer, multiple card indexes, and one of those big map thingies where they push little model planes around with long sticks. With these fine tools, a staff of hundreds watched and waited for incoming Soviet aircraft that just might be carrying with them a bomb that could end the world. Spoiler alert! No world-ending bomb was dropped. And by the mid-1950s, technology had developed to the point that the bunker and all its fine accoutrements were basically obsolete. It was used by the Royal Observer Corps for a while, but for the most part, its days as an active place of work and military strategy were over. Instead, in the 1960s, it became the designated regional seat of government for Scotland. Regional seats of government were underground facilities based all over the country to allow the government to keep on governmenting if the worst happened and London was destroyed. Something that was, sorry London, quite likely should a full-scale nuclear attack take place. Of course, it's questionable whether, following a nuclear exchange, there'd be anything left to govern, but that's just details. There were regional seats all over the country. Barnton Bunker would have contained around 300 or so lucky survivors. bureaucrats, civil servants, firefighters, doctors, and members of the armed forces. They'd exist there in relative safety while the world outside was transformed into a Threads-adjacent nuclear wasteland. Of course, at this time, if you were a member of the general public and worried about the looming threat of nuclear war, the most you could do was paint your windows white, build a lean-to in your living room, and hope for the best. Bunkers like Barnton were for essential government employees only. If you're thinking that sounds a little unfair, you're not the only one. In 1963, the activist group Spies for Peace discovered the location of the bunker along with a bunch of others. They promptly told everyone about it, and the ordinary bunkerless civilians of Edinburgh were, to say the least, a bit ticked off. Protests ensued, including at least one where a group marched from the city centre of Edinburgh to the gates of the previously secret bunker. At the stage where you have a crowd of angry civilians protesting at your gates, it's safe to say that your secret bunker is no longer secret. In 1983, ownership of the bunker passed to the Lothian Regional Council so that they could use it as an emergency control centre for any big, city-destroying emergency, nuclear or otherwise. Never one to waste a vital resource, the council did precisely nothing with it, saying that it was just too big for their modest emergency needs. In 1991, the site was sold to a property company who wanted to build a retirement home there. To clarify, all indications are that they planned to build it on top of the bunker, not to house Nanny and Granda in a windowless underground concrete-lined war room. Having sold it to them, however, the council then refused planning permission and the bunker remained unused and uninhabited. During the 1990s, the bunker was, for all intents and purposes, abandoned. And just like any extremely cool, once secret abandoned building will do, it attracted the curious. Urban explorers, bored teens and vandals all managed to make their way inside the once secure fortress, and some of them celebrated this achievement by setting bits of it on fire. By 1996, tired of putting out underground fires in a property that they were never going to be able to develop, McGregor Properties finally gave up their plan for a nuke-resistant retirement bunker and started looking to get rid of the place. It was purchased by a local businessman for around 60 grand, a true impulse purchase that he apparently made on his car phone while driving across the Forth Road Bridge. He may have regretted his haste a little later on when he finally got inside the place and discovered that it was, even for a disused nuclear bunker, pretty badly wrecked. In fact, you could say that the interior almost looked as though a bomb had hit it. The bunker was, at this stage, no stranger to being on fire. In 1998, however, one of the biggest blazes yet ripped through the underground part of the complex, leaving it badly burned. The source of this 2-day fire varies depending on who you ask. According to some, it was kids messing around, and according to one anonymous individual, it was the work of a shady anarchist collective known as the Edinburgh Bombie Group. A grassroots collective dedicated to ensuring that if the ordinary man on the street couldn't survive the apocalypse, the government sure couldn't either. Whoever it was, they pushed a burning vehicle down the main entry corridor, shut the doors, and fled. A huge part of the bunker was thoroughly carbonised, and it took firefighters 2 days to put out the flames. By 2010, the bunker was in a pretty sorry state. Plundered by metal thieves, burned by anarchists, massively untidy, and with a leaky roof, it didn't look as though it'd stand up to a prod with a pointy stick, let alone a nuclear weapon. And so, in 2011, its new owner started the Barnton Bunker Preservation Society, a charity dedicated to not just remedying the absolute state of the burned bunker, but actually getting it in working order again and opening it up as a museum. It's only recently that the site has, thanks to the tireless work of hundreds of volunteers, been returned to a halfway decent state once more. There's still a long way to go, of course, but there are now occasional hard hat tours of the place that are well worth getting on, Not many people know about the existence of the bunker, but that's set to change, slowly but surely, as the subterranean museum is brought back to life. The threat of nuclear war is marginally less prominent now than it's been in previous decades, but it's by no means ancient history. Barnton Bunker is a fascinating little window into a world that could have been. Eerie corridors, old map rooms, rusting computer racks. This is the place from which, had history been just a little different, a select few would have governed a ravaged world. And if that's not worth a visit, I don't know what is. Bye!